This machine's our young 750T. It's a 5-axis machine. They're doing some connecting rods. I'm actually grabbing a folder from over here. I'll take a look at this stuff in a second. So in just the next 5 minutes, I won't stand in front of the speaker. I'll just give you a little tip right here in front of the machine. We'll talk about manufacturing and machining in general. I mentioned this yesterday as well, but one of my favorite magazines, can you turn that up? There's a volume on there. I can't go over there without it speaking. So in the past, one of my favorite magazines was Wired magazine. Okay, have you guys heard of that? And so the original editor of that magazine was a guy named Kevin Kelly. And so this is way back in the mid-90s. I had torn the page out of that magazine. And way back in the day, Kevin Kelly had said that in the future, which is today, our paychecks will be based more and more on how well we work with robots. Okay? And so if you guys are looking for a job, right, or if you just lost a job, right, you'll find out that your pay is tied to how well you can work with automation. We're Haas Automation. So what we do here is we make parts faster than we used to make parts, right, 100 years ago, because we've automated the process. Essentially, a CNC machine is just a large robot. And so I get paid $5 an hour more than the next guy because I can probe a part and have it set up the machine for me. I just walk up, I give it a few lines of code, it picks up the edge of a part and it starts running. You want to start this guy up. It's funny. So this right here is a little show and tell. It's kind of off topic, but I decided to bring it in anyhow. This right here on the front of it, it says International Correspondence Schools. And this is from the 20s, right? Where my great-great-grandfather was learning how to be a machinist. And so he's got, actually John, come here and hold this for a second. Sure. I'm just gonna pull out one thing here. So he's got all of his examination papers here from tool and design, right? He's got his apprenticeship hours here. Mr. Stanfield worked 20 days with engine, 17 days following water. So 1901, he was getting his steam engine certification. Again, so he was a tool and die maker and learned how to work on equipment around the farm. Now, have you guys used SolidWorks at all? Autodesk, this type of thing? So this is what we used to have to do, right? If we were going to make a part, we'd have to draw it. So you guys have seen these, right? So you look at something like this, and this is what our grandparents used to make. And so this looks like it came off a laser printer, right? It came right off the copier, right? But this is hand-drawn. So this is what my great-great-grandfather used to have to do when he would make a print or make a part. So back in the turn of the century, all the way up in the 1950s, this is what you would see. So some beautiful stuff here that Steve and Oscar Stanfield used to make. And so we complain about how hard things are for us today. So I am not nearly as smart as this man was. I'm not nearly as talented, but I would crush him, just crush him when it comes time to making parts. Everything has changed. So my entire paycheck today is based on how well I can work with automation. We can just set that over there. Thanks a lot, John. John Nelson hired me and taught me most of what I know as far as Haas applications goes. So if you're looking at machining, you have to get to the point where you can work comfortably with robots. We were saying it again, and we'll say it now, that back in the 70s, 1979, companies like General Motors, they made something like 4 million cars in that year. They made 4 million cars in 1979 with 840,000 employees. 840,000 employees, 4 million cars. This year, in 2017, they're going to cross the 10 million mark. They're going to make 10 million cars. With 840,000 employees? No. They're going to do it with 200,000 employees. Right? So they're making 2.5 times the number of cars with 20-25% the number of employees. Everything has changed. The world has changed. And however that works out in our lives, whatever field we find ourselves working in, we just have to keep moving forward because we're not going to stop automating the process. Now, there's this world-renowned economist. He actually won a Nobel Prize, Milton Friedman. And the story goes, and it's reported in his books and elsewhere, that he was traveling through Asia, and he was touring, and he was looking at a work site. It was a construction site. So he stops and he talks to the foreman, and Milton asked the foreman, this is terrific, I see thousands of guys here with shovels digging what looks like a canal. And he says, yes, it's a canal. And he says, but where's the heavy equipment? Where are the bulldozers? Right? You've got thousands of guys here with shovels. Why aren't you using automated equipment? And the supervisor says, well, Milton, this is a jobs program. Yes, we're building a canal, but actually, we're here to create jobs. And he says, well, if you want to create jobs, why don't you take away the shovels and give them spoons? Have them dig that canal with spoons. We'll create lots more jobs. And in that moment, right, all of us know the absurdity of it. We just can't go back. We can't go back. When George Washington was giving his first State of the Union address, right, 1890, 1891, 90% of the people in this country were farmers. It took 90%, 9 out of 10 people, it took just to put food on the table. It's incredible. And then 50 years later, you're looking at 1940, that dropped from 90 to 70%. 50 years after that, it dropped from 70% to 40 years. By the time my mom was born in 1938, 1940, right, it had dropped to something like 40% of the population was farmers. 1970s, you've done to 20%. Guess how many, what percentage of our population today are farmers, right? 2%, maybe 2.8. So we went from 90% of the country being farmers to 2% because of one thing. We automated the process. Now the United States is a net exporter of food. We feed the world because we've got so much food, right? I've got no problem finding food. And so manufacturing is the same way. If you want to get into machine, if you want to get into manufacturing, the world has changed. We've got to keep up with it. The first thing we can do as far as automating a machine like this is we add probing. When this job was programmed, is it okay if I open? This job was actually programmed in Fusion by Autodesk. They came in and helped us program it. But what they did is they went ahead and programmed one part for us, and then we just added some more work off this, and we went beep, beep, beep with a probe, and we added more parts. It's so easy to change, so easy to set up this job because we have that probe on the machine. And so, how does that probe work? It's big, it's scary, it's hard to program, right? It's not. 5 lines of code we can have you programming that probe. You turn it on. You move to an XYZ location safely. You choose a probing cycle from the Inspection Plus manual. Beep, beep, beep. Now it's picked up the hole or the edge of the part. Then you get it out of the way safely. Then you turn the probe off. So with 5 lines of code, I can show you how to use our probing system on this machine to automate the process. We can also use that probe to send information to our desks. We can have the machine run a hole over again if the hole is too small. If it's too large and the part is already bad, I can say if pound 188 is bigger than 2.5 inches, then call it subprogram whatever, and I can mill that part into chips. I can make sure that bad parts don't even leave my machine. They don't even make it to the inspection room before I've decided that they're not good. There's all kinds of things you can do with automation, and that's what we do here at Haas. So I'm just one of a bunch of application guys here at the factory, and I'm one of even more applications guys across all the HMOs across the world. We all do the same thing, we all teach the same thing, right? And we're here to help you guys make parts. But if you decide that you're just going to keep doing what you're doing, that's fine, but that's what the farmers were doing, right, back in the 1890s. The world has changed, we got to, keep going with it and follow this automation. Everyone likes Tesla. I'm a big Tesla freak. SpaceX, I follow it all the time. And so when they're landing rockets, it's exciting. Exciting stuff landing rockets. But there was an article in the paper last March, and I saved it, and it was so exciting. It said that SpaceX, they cut 60% of the labor out of each and every launch. They've automated something. And I'm like, okay, what is this? Well, they've gotten together with General Wayne Montier, right, with the Air Force, with the military, and they automated the self-destruct process of a rocket. It used to be that when they launched a rocket, it would take people all over the world to make sure that rocket didn't fall and land on somebody. If the rocket went off course, somebody made a phone call, somebody pressed a button. Well, it turns out that of the 250 people needed to launch a SpaceX rocket, 150 of them were there for one purpose: to blow up that rocket if it went off course. Can you imagine that? 250 people, and 150 of them, their sole job all over the world was to blow up the rocket if it went off course. They automated that process, right? And you think, oh, well, what happened to those jobs? Those guys are still working, right? They're manufacturing, they're putting satellites in space. We changed positions, and they became more productive. Now SpaceX is just doing better and better because of that weird thought that, hey, what can we automate in our little piece of the pie? What can we automate with our processes? So never stop thinking that way. Just like Elon Musk got rid of 60% of the labor in launching a rocket, incredible, right? Went from 250 to 100 people to launch a rocket. In the manufacturing process that you're using today, think about how you can automate the process. And that starts with us, with the probing system, right? Or, even taking a step back, with going from a manual machine to a CNC machine. We're starting to use that CAM software to program your parts instead of programming by hand. And there's always guys like me that program by hand just to make the parts run faster and faster and faster. So that's it, today's tip. Just keep that in mind. Think about what you can automate in your future, which might just be a matter of getting a CNC machine, or it might be a matter of upgrading to Pro, or calling your HFO applications engineer and say, how can we make this thing run faster? Calling your tool supplier, saying, how can we make this thing run faster? Remember, not shovels instead of spoons, but bulldozers instead of shovels. Keep thinking about automation. Thanks, guys. Have a good tour today at the factory.
Thank you.